This is nuts.
Ty Jerome is the next, the latest one from the Cavs, guard for the Cavs. That probably Chad is tall, but we consider him a guard.
I didn't know Ty Jerome was. I didn't know he ever played in the NBA.
Yeah,
I remember him in Virginia, and I saw this story, and I thought to myself, I thought he was playing overseas. So, didn't even know he had an NBA career. Good for him.
There's an organized crime ring that the FBI is looking into. That is, the assumption is they're going and taking advantage of players who are on the road games, and breaking into their homes and stealing and burglarizing their personal property, targeting the high-profile athletes too. Guys like Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, and Travis Kelce, Mike Conley, Luka Doncic was one that has had this happen to him. It's a disturbing trend that is continuing, and it's believed to be some illegal Chilean immigrants that are involved in this. Illegal after they've overstayed their visa. They were over here legally, and now they're not. 4 Chilean immigrants pulled over for a traffic violation, and they had items in the car that would trace back either to Joe Burrow or to other incidents where this has occurred. And immediately I'm thinking that they're not in the country for very long with Trump in office. But you've got others trying to look at the list of players that have commented on this. Tua has said since that he's upping the security around his home. Dak Prescott doing the same thing. He had his girlfriend's car was broken into recently while he was playing a game. My question is, how do they? I'm assuming it's easier to find out than what I'm thinking. How do they know exactly where they live, and that no one's going to be there?
Well,
because a lot of these guys have friends that stay with them.
I don't know.
That just hang out.
It's odd to me that the house would be completely vacated. Like you said, I feel like there's always going to be someone there.
Yeah, like the friend who's
now
hanging
I'm sure
out.
there will be.
That's what I would have to.
I remember
have that.
When I was a kid. Could somebody grab me some water too, please? Adam or somebody? Sorry. When I was a kid, I remember working a fireworks stand.
Yeah.
And you had to stay overnight in the fireworks stand to make sure no one was going to rob it.
Yes.
And it's not like we were 15 years old, or something like that. It's not like we had guns on us to protect us, so I'm not quite sure what we were going to do if someone decided to steal it. But I think the same rule applies now to pro athletes when they're playing a game. If there's any knowledge at all of where you live and they know you're playing a game, you might want to have someone at the house.
Yes. I mean, the FBI is warning them to follow this string of burglaries that's taking place through this. And it goes across the board for any league. They know whenever they're on the road. And a lot of these guys, in the case of the NFL, they're leaving. If your game's on Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern, you're leaving Saturday. You're probably arriving in that away city at, 5 p.m. local time? And you're back before halftime of Sunday Night Football the next day. So
Trump deported, goodness gracious, 123 illegal immigrants that were criminals yesterday. Let's just hope these guys are added to that list today.
Yeah, they were found with the center punch tools, which is like that high impact striking device, which is spring loaded.
It's basically a home break-in starter kit.
It's either that or you use it to create a divot for your if you're working on some machine, if you're building something or repairing something. But yeah, I think one of them had like a Joe Burrow shirt on or something from his home.
That's a weird play.
Yeah, he was caught with that.
You break into Joe Burrow's house and then you wear just a random Joe Burrow shirt.
It's just a grab and go. It's happening very fast.
You put on one of Joe Burrow's shirts?
Yeah, they found an LSU shirt and a Cincinnati Bengals shirt and a cell phone that had pinged off the tower in the county Joe Burrow's home was in. Yep.
And they're out of where? Florida, I believe, is where their residence is. Here's the center punch tool used to break a window or whatever it may be.
Doesn't it cost less money to deport someone than it does to imprison them, I would think, in this country?
I would think so.
I hear so much about the cost of deportation, and it's going to cost too much money. It's going to cost this, and to send them back to their country, it's going to cost. And I'm thinking, I'd much rather put their ass on a plane to Chile
Yes.
than imprison them for the next 20 years in our federal prison system, right? Wouldn't
Yes.
that be easier?
I would think so, especially if you got the evidence against them. And again, it's more than just these guys. If it's the organized crime ring, it would be more than 4 people, I would suspect, in this. The key point here is they're not citizens of the United States.
It's also I'm no criminal mastermind, Hutton, but I would think there's more cost-efficient ways to commit crimes. Drugs, fentanyl coming across the border.
Who was
like a Chilean crime syndicate?
You guys will
They're
remember
a part of this, and they're going to come to the United States and rob pro athletes' homes.
You can find.
I feel like there's
jewelry.
there's more ways to make more money, higher volume with less high-profile risk than doing that.
Yeah.
But hey, if this is what leads to them, I'm glad that no one was hurt in these burglaries. But if this is what leads to us finding them and getting them out of the country, so be it.
Well, and again, the increased security is one thing. The amount of jewelry and other cash that these players probably have, at their homes. Those guys a lot of them burn through. A lot of them are broke by the time they're 10 years out of the league.
Yeah, the wet bandits going to their house.
Yeah. Okay, you guys remember
staking
this.
their claim.
I think it was Kim Kardashian who had something stolen from her. Was it in France?
Sure.
Like a huge jewel or something. There was another party.
Sounds like the plot to an Ocean's movie.
Yeah, it does. It does. There was another party out in L.A. where there was someone that was pretending to be a friend of someone else and got in. I think they made a movie about this.
That was the bling ring.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the movie.
So that's similar to what's happening here, right? Just from the targeting high-profile athletes and knowing when they're not there.
It's very different criminals we're talking about.
no
Like
doubt,
the
no
bling
doubt.
ring was like a group of like party kids.
Yeah.
That befriended them and then got
then would
into
work in and
parties
get
and
their
then
stuff.
started to work the inside casing of it.
Yeah.
And started stealing from them. Again, like I wouldn't put this at the top of my list of things that I think a Chilean criminal syndicate would be up to, coming to America to rob pro athletes.
I mean, their list is long if they're going from Joe Burrow to Mike Conley.
Yeah.
The list is long, or has to be, for the Dallas Cowboys as their coaching search continues. They're not going to have Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn is taking the job with the New York Jets. And they're now battling the Raiders and the Jaguars for the next coaching hire in the National Football League. Here we are. We sit at the end of the season. And it's not the NFC North that sits atop the throne of the NFL in the National Football Conference. It's the NFC East. And that should be jarring for the Dallas Cowboys and that fan base, which is a massive one. Because as they look and stare down the Washington Commanders and the Philadelphia Eagles, who will battle for the right to go to the Super Bowl, the glaring problem is that since 2010, all teams have at least reached the NFC Championship game, except Dallas. Washington had the longest drought, and now that's over, thanks to a great draft pick in Jaden Daniels and ownership that has changed over, and they made the right hires. The largest NFC Championship drought, the other 15 teams have made it to the NFC Championship game this century. That is awful for the Dallas Cowboys. Here's the good news. I think this could be a quick turnaround. Mike McCarthy was 49-35 in his time there as head coach. You have Dak Prescott. You have CeeDee Lamb. You have Micah Parsons. What you don't have is that clear and concise, I'm taking the job and I'm going to have some say in what's going on here. You're going to have tons of pressure. You're going to be scrutinized. You're going to be ridiculed. But you're also going to be the most praised coach if you turn things around. You'll be known and well known. But you have to be able to face the harsh criticism in order to get there. It's not going to be pretty. It won't be fun early on. But I do think with the resources that Jerry Jones has and the ability and the need to win in Dallas, they're next up. But Jerry Jones has to get it right. Because on top of just seeing the other teams in his division representing the NFC for the right to go to the Super Bowl, he's also looking at Dan Quinn, his former defensive coordinator, now the head coach in Washington. And he's looking at other coaches too. As Brian Schottenheimer is back in Dallas today, back in Arlington, interviewing for the second consecutive day, and what's a carryover from his first interview yesterday. He can also wait on Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator in Philly. Why not? He was a coach there. And Dan Quinn was, allowed to take another job because McCarthy is coming off 3 consecutive 12-win seasons. But you part ways with him and let his contract expire nonetheless. And Dan Quinn goes and signs a long-term contract with Washington. And he's got the team with a quick turnaround and a young quarterback not going anywhere anytime soon. There's a problem there. And Jerry Jones doesn't need to go just hire the flash coach. If Deion Sanders is the guy, hire him. If he's not the guy, hire the right coach. And it doesn't have to be flash and throw a parade and here's all the bright lights and the cameras. It can be a boring hire on surface level. But beneath the surface, the guy's got to have some grip on reality of what that job's all about. Mike McCarthy did, and he's not there. Other coaches haven't. And it just doesn't happen to be in Dallas. It could be across the league, Chad. But it has to be the right hire now. Otherwise, this is going to be the longest drought going for a while. With some really talented players and with a winning record. We're looking at Trent Baalke. Trent Baalke in Jacksonville has been fired. And his record, 25-43 in those 4 seasons. 25-43. McCarthy, 49-35.
Yeah,
it's hard to find coaches like that.
It's a lack of playoff success, right? So they're in a weird spot.
Yeah.
Because they were bad this year, but they're not a bad team that just has to completely demolish everything
right.
and start over. But it's also a team that I feel like needs to kind of demolish the leadership structure and start over a bit. Because those numbers you just cited, Hutton, and the drought to get to an NFC championship, those are loser numbers.
Chad,
those are loser organization results.
How do you describe the Tennessee Titans?
And that's not the Dallas Cowboys.
Describe the Tennessee Titans, just in a sentence. How would you, if someone said, what have the Titans done this century?
Disorganized in one word is how I would describe the Titans.
They've been to 3 conference championship games since Dallas was in their last one.
Right.
But the view of the Dallas Cowboys is way different. And I think there are a lot of fans who are apathetic to it, which is jarring.
I think there are times you need the jarring. You need something that's going to reset things. I don't think Jerry Jones is going to do that because he's going to fall back on his knowledge of the league and his knowledge of the organization. And people who might have a knowledge of that team and that job, I think you should do the opposite. I think any tie to the Cowboys organization should be an automatic disqualifier for the next coach. They need a complete outside voice to come in and get a pretty good roster over the top.
But those who have been involved recently as a part of McCarthy's staff have gone on to have success. And they had success while they were there. They were a part of why they're 12 wins, 3 consecutive years. And they know the personnel. I think they could get a jump start. It would be Kellen Moore, a jump start on where you are instead of a Schottenheimer. And again, he fits the criteria of what I'm saying. It's kind of a boring, what are you doing? You go from Deion to Brian Schottenheimer. It could be the right piece.
Yeah.
But I'm looking more of there could be some obvious
but it's not,
moves here.
Going back to the well of people or people that have been there or coached there or whatever, to me that's not.
Yeah.
They need something different. I mean, this is a time to go find someone who thinks differently, who views that job differently, who views that organization differently, that's going to come and give them a kick in the ass. That's what they need. They don't need some Belichickian complete rebuild in that person's image or anything like that, but they do need a new way of thinking. And that way of thinking really doesn't need to be in line with Jerry Jones. I get it. Jerry Jones, the owner, he can go hire his buddy or someone that played for him or coached for him or whatever. Outside looking in, if I'm diagnosing the Cowboys franchise, I see that Jerry Jones has not done a terrible job with the roster. They're pretty good enough to win enough under Mike McCarthy, except not winning in the playoffs. So it's not like he's inheriting the Tennessee Titans from a roster standpoint with the number 1 overall pick that we just mentioned. Inheriting a pretty good roster that needs to get better and needs to win when it matters most. So go find someone that's done that hasn't done it with the Cowboys, that can give the Cowboys fresh eyes. That's to me what they need. What are they going to do? If I had to guess, Jerry's going to hire someone he knows, whether that be Brian Schottenheimer or Kellen Moore or Deion Sanders, someone from Cowboys past.
Well, the Deion Sanders hire would be jarring because you're getting Shador somehow.
It would be jarring, but to me, it would be another in a line of this is Jerry's guy.
How about them Cowboys?
This is Jerry's guy. I'm fine with a guy getting there and being the Jimmy Johnson, how about them Cowboys guy. But Jimmy Johnson, even though he was Jerry's buddy from college, was a total outside voice. That's the last time they've had that level of success.